What you're witnessing right now in the Middle East is the breakdown and fall of the US empire, and the media is all lying about it. And I'm going to explain why very quickly. The US empire is built on two things. Number one, the US military power that it has, which is one of the best in the world, if not the best. And number two, it being the financial center of the world, with the dollar being the reserve currency of the world. That means most transactions in the world have to be done in dollar, especially the petrol that is generated from the Middle East has to be traded in dollar. Now, why does that help America? Well, because that dollar, when a country sells equipment and receives dollars, it doesn't actually keep the dollars inside the country. It invests those dollars back into the US financial system and buys US debt, which makes it very easy for the US to borrow cheaply because all those dollars, trillions of dollars, all around the world are being invested back in the financial center and the US government in America. To protect the US reserve currency, the US has bases all around the world to ensure that everyone is trading in dollar. There's US bases all across the Middle East, all across Europe, all across Asia, obviously not in China or in Russia. But the US bases are there to protect this trade and to ensure no country trades in or trades mostly in dollar so that they can reinvest it back into the US financial system. And because of that dollar reserve currency, it can use that system to also sanction any country that disobeys America because it controls the financial system. It can cut any country off, which is a powerful thing. And that's why, one of the reasons why the US is an empire. More than $1 trillion a year is generated just from the Gulf oil sales. And that sales are all being shut down right now by Iran because no tanker can pass the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has shut it down. And people are saying, well, Iran doesn't have a navy anymore. You don't need a navy to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. It is only 35 kilometers wide. You just need a few drones and missiles and to hit some tankers to show that you mean business, which is exactly what Iran has done. So it has shut off all oil exports from this region, which supplies 20% of all the oil across the world. The US bases were supposed to be there to protect those countries and to ensure that the oil continues to be generated and sold in dollars. Those US bases in the Gulf areas are all under attack, and some have been severely damaged. The US bases were there to supposed to protect the Gulf countries, but it's actually making those Gulf countries now in danger. It's a risk holding these US bases. The script has flipped. Instead of the US bases protecting the countries, it's the Gulf countries, it's the Gulf countries now protecting the US bases. At their own cost, their military is facing casualties and the economies are going down at the moment. The notion that America can defend its US bases have just been shut down because they have all been attacked. If you look at the satellite images, it's damaged and there is a lot of smoke coming out. The Navy fleet, the 5th Navy Fleet in Bahrain, is the base of that is completely destroyed. And the region is waking up to the fact that the US was not prepared for this. The focus of the US was all towards Israel and not enough towards its own bases. It would rather defend Israel than its own bases. And even the embassies in the region are being attacked. And it's now coming out that a lot of them had CIA injuries because they were using the embassies for CIA missions, which is kind of known fact that they, that happens. And so the Gulf countries are looking at this and thinking, you've prioritized Israel over us, even though all your bases are in this region. For Iran, the message is very clear. We have allowed your bases to be in this area as long as you don't attack us. Now that you have attacked us, there will be no more US bases in this region. And we're seeing the impact of this. The issue that they're facing, Americans, is that Iran is producing these $20,000 drones very cheaply, very quickly, and they're shooting them across, and they need to shoot them down. They're using these defense missiles that cost $500,000 to $1 million for each of these missiles. The US clearly miscalculated the attacks that will happen on the Gulf areas and doesn't have enough defense missiles for those areas. That's why the Gulf states are going now to Italy to ask them for defense. Let me just say this again. The Gulf areas, the Gulf countries, are unable to obtain defense missiles from America because America has been generating all the missiles to Ukraine, to Israel for the past 2 or 3 years, and now moved a lot of their missiles to Israel, expecting a huge retaliation from Iran after they attacked Iran. The situation is so bad that America is now thinking about moving their defense systems and defense missiles away from South Korea and Japan to put them in the Middle East because they didn't calculate how much they would need and how long this war will go. The oil production is what feeds the economy. It's what feeds, especially with the AI revolution, that requires a lot of energy. If there is no energy, that shuts down. We were all talking about the AI bubble. This is what's going to pop the AI bubble. And Trump's reaction to the close of the Strait of Hormuz is that they're going to send ships to the region to protect the trade. Well, that's not going to work because those ships are 1,000 kilometers away from Iran right now. The reason why they're 1,000 kilometers away from Iran is because they cannot get too close because Iran will bomb them with their hypersonic missiles. Doesn't mean they're going to sink the ships, but they don't need to sink the ships. They just need to put them out of order. The problem is the media is lying about how many missiles Iran has. It clearly has a lot of missiles, and they have misinterpreted, misjudged Iran's capability. This is the problem. When you look down at the enemy, when you think they're backwards, you miscalculate and you fail in a spectacular way. Now, the situation is so bad in terms of them running out of ammunition, they're now saying that they're not going to start using precision bombs against Iran. When they're bombing Iran, they're going to use dummy bombs. These are the same bombs that they used on Gaza, where it's not precision. It's not precision. It's throwing it at an area and causing mass devastation. The only way you would use those bombs is either you are evil and you want to destroy everything, or you are running out of precision bombs and you have to use those dummy bombs. The situation is getting worse, whereby now Trump is trying to get the Kurds in Iraq and in parts of Iran to cause a civil war. Well, the issue there is that Turkey will not allow for the Kurds to become stronger, because if Kurds create their own country, Kurdistan, then that is a security risk for Turkey. And so Turkey will not allow the Kurds to do that. And the Kurds know this. They've had this issue before, whereby Americans come and say, we'll support you to attack this and that, and then the American support goes away. And therefore, that is why they're very hesitant about making those moves, because they know it is very dangerous to their people. Israel now is facing an existential threat. We are not able to see what is happening in Israel because the government has made it illegal to show the damage that is occurring. And at the same time, they are now invading Lebanon to fight Hezbollah. This is following a more than 2-year war where they're fighting Hamas. And after 2 years, Hamas is still there in an area that is extremely small. Yet they think they can attack just from air Iran, which is as big as Western Europe. And just by air power, they can cause it to crumble. It is clear that there is no plan. There is no strategy. They thought that just by killing some leadership, the country will crumble. This is what you hear on the media. We keep on hearing they're on their last knee. They're a house of cards. Just one last push and everything will break down. And clearly, the media has been lying to you. The Iranian people have prepared for this for 20 years. They saw when US attacked their neighbor, invaded their neighbor to the right, and then invaded their neighbor to the left, right being Afghanistan, left being Iraq, and said they're going to invade Iran next. That was in 2005. And they've been preparing for 20 years for this war. Iran's message is very clear. We will not have any more US bases in the Middle East. This is going to be a new Middle East where any threat to Iran is going to be attacked. Now, Iran has support from 2 big countries, which you're not hearing very much about, because everything's happening in the background. There's a lot of intelligence being shared, a lot of equipment being shared from Russia and China, but they're waiting and they're seeing. Now, the interesting thing is the only country that can remove oil from the Strait of Hormuz is China. The situation is getting so bad that the Europeans are now thinking of asking Ukraine to allow gas to flow from Russia. The problem is that Iran cannot accept any negotiation with the US. How could it, after they killed their negotiating team last time and then they killed their leader this time? What is there to negotiate about? How could you trust the US and Israel anymore? They keep on killing you while they're trying to negotiate with you. And Israel and the US are known to just stop and then restart the war once they fill their missiles back in the area. Why would Iran allow them? So what this is looking like is that Trump is going to be pushed to deploy troops in the area, because How is he going to defend all these US bases? The US is now telling all its citizens to leave the Middle East, not its, you know, non-essential workers or government workers, all citizens to leave the Middle East. And the Gulf areas are looking at this and saying, you've betrayed us, essentially. The US has betrayed the Gulf areas. You promised protection. That's why we had your bases there. And now it's us protecting your bases and us eating the economic cost of what's happening and what's about to happen. The whole system, the whole US empire is going to be challenged if it doesn't have those US bases around the world. If countries now start believing that the US cannot defend them. I mean, that's why everyone's being bullied by the US and just accepting US terms, because the US is the superpower. It defends those countries. But if it cannot now defend those countries because they misjudged this war, and it's clearly the fact that they misjudged this war, then why are they going to listen to the US if the US can't even defend them? Iran is now showing its hand, and people didn't realize that there was a superpower in the Middle East, that is Iran. It's just that it was playing very soft and it actually wanted peace. And you killed the person that wanted peace with the Middle East and with the West. And now you have the people that want war.